I'm John Oetjens, and welcome to Schooling Around. With the school year drawing to a close, today we get a progress report from our alternative high school, Oxford Bridges, and the latest addition to our school district, Crossroads for Youth School. We'll also check in with high school teacher Joe Amabile and his I'm Third organization as they complete another year of helping others. Be right back. A year ago, there were a lot of question marks in Aletha Van Loozen's mind. She was trying to keep a teaching staff at an alternative high school program in the midst of talk about it all going away and being combined with another district. Things are much better now. We checked in with Aletha this week.
Things are going really well. I really could not ask for a better year. My teaching staff, who were new last year, continue to just move forward and grow. I do have a new math science teacher who started in the fall, and he has fit in wonderfully. He's got a great personality, gets along very well with our students, which is, of course, the most important thing. One of the things that's important to me is that staff actually like working with kids. If they are not proficient necessarily in their curriculum areas, or they're not proficient in classroom management, those are things you can teach. Can't teach people how to like kids. And so the wonderful thing here is all three of my teaching staff love the students here, as well as I have two what you call paraprofessionals. They help out in the classroom. And they've been here for the full 5 years that this program has been in existence. And they absolutely love their job. So we are doing fantastic. We've done a couple of new things this year. We implemented what's called standard-based grading, which is where you take the Michigan standards that are required, and you actually teach towards that, and that's what students are graded on. So it's not about did you turn your homework in, it's not about, did you complete that paper, it's do you understand what you need to know to pass this course. Which we find is a much more effective grading system, because you're actually grading on what students know or what you expect them to know, as opposed to the behavior of did they turn an assignment in.
How many kids did you have this year?
We had 58 students this year.
58?
And we have 19 graduating, which I believe is the same amount we had last year. So it's very exciting. I only have 4 students who were seniors and supposed to graduate. Well, actually they weren't supposed to graduate. I have 4 seniors who will be 5th year seniors, but that was expected, that they would not be graduating with us.
So any success stories you care to tell us?
Oh, I have several kids going to college. I have one young man who is in, I want to call it the Young Explorers, but I don't think that's what it's called actually. But he works with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. He's interested in becoming a policeman. I have another student who is going to, he got an apprenticeship with a plumber because he wants to be a plumber. I have another student, well actually 2 that are going to college. One is going to Oakland Community College. One is going to Specs Howard for graphic artistry. So off the top of my head, that's what I come up with. So I have several students moving forward in their life, which is fantastic.
That's great.
I know a lot of people think that when students are not successful in high school, there's concern as to what's going to happen to them after. One of the things that we do here is really work towards student success and what that means to them on a self-esteem level, and help them to, many of our students are low socioeconomic, so I show them ways. We go on to the federal the FAFSA, which is, where you get your student loans and stuff.
Yes.
And we are able to get them money for college. And there's a TIP grant through the state of Michigan that most of them don't know about,
Right.
which provides money if they have been on any kind of state assistance for 2 or more years of their life. So,
Is the Bridges program kind of unique around here? I mean, do other schools in our immediate area, do other school districts have something like this? Or?
a lot of schools have alternative programs for their youth that are not successful, and some are more successful than others. Brandon just closed theirs this year. And that, I believe, is because their district is losing students. So I think to run an alternative school was too much fiscally. And that's what happens is actually most districts could use a alternative school for their students that aren't successful, because not everybody does well, in the large environment of 1,400 kids. Now, a lot of students don't do well in that. They need a smaller, more one-on-one environment, just for social purposes as well as academic purposes. But a lot of districts can't afford that, because now you're trying to afford one teacher to 20 kids, which, as we know, even here in Oxford, we really have to pinch pennies sometimes to make sure that we can give students what they need.
Do you get any of those kids from other districts, or doesn't it
No,
work that way?
we are not open. Our school is not an open school. We do have students from other districts, but they have to have started at the high school first. And that's because we're in the middle school. If we were in a larger venue, I would be able to take students out of district, but currently I can't do that.
Any talk about maybe something like that happening in the near future? Or?
We always talk about it.
Talk is cheap, right?
Talk is cheap, but there's really no discussion as to what that looks like. So next year we are status quo here in the middle school. But at least there's no talk of closing it.
Oh, well,
so
that's good news.
absolutely.
Anything else you'd care to share with us about thoughts you have for next year, things coming up? You hiring any more teachers or different programs? Or
We are not hiring any more teachers. We have no place to put them. However, I'm sending 2 of my teachers to Washington, to Seattle, for a conference on what's called project-based learning. And that's where you are teaching kids. You're still teaching them their subject matter, but you're teaching them in a environment that would be more workplace. So you're teaching them in an environment where they're expected to work cooperatively to solve a problem that has to do with whatever their class subject matter is.
Right.
It allows teachers to work what we call cross-curricular, so the language arts and social studies, or social studies and science, are able to work together to develop a project and a problem that kids have to solve cooperatively.
That's Aletha Van Loozen, principal of Oxford Bridges. Back in a moment.
You're watching OCTV.
A year ago, the Oxford School Administration was scrambling. They had just learned that the Crossroads for Youth Charter School was being closed, and we were regaining control of that school. Suddenly, grants were being written, buildings were being updated, equipment was being ordered, and teachers hired. And remember, most of these students are being placed here by the court. This is a tough situation anyway. This week, we visited with Principal Shelley Chapman, psychologist Amy Wright, and social worker Megan Van Sickle, who brought us up to date.
The beginning of the year was very challenging. When we first started, we didn't have our furniture, we didn't have our technology, we opened the doors with the teachers and the students, and we welcomed them on the first day, and then things came together, and within a month we had our furniture, and we had our technology, and we had our curriculum, and we just started rolling along. And I think it's been a year of learning, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think things went as planned. I think we have a lot of ideas for some change for next school year, things that we'll do differently, things that we'll tweak.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, what kind of plans do you have to, are you bringing in anything new or anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, we implemented an art therapy program this year from a local art therapist in Lake Orion. They come in every other week and do art therapy broken up by units. That's been fabulous. The kids really love it. We're going to continue that throughout the summer.
Explain that a little more for us, would you?
Yep, we have, her name is Karen Smigelski. She's a licensed counselor in Lake Orion, and she used to be a teacher in Oxford. And so we got to talking with her, and she has an intern, and they come in every other week. So the girls will go together and the boys will go together, and they implement coping skills and problem solving into art and let the creativity come out with the kids as well.
Can you give us an example of that? I mean, I'm totally foreign to me, but.
Sure, I think one thing that jumps out at me is the mask project that they did. They talked about how everybody wears a mask from time to time. And then the kids developed their own mask. And, when do you wear a mask? You wear a mask when you're going to a job interview, maybe, or when you're starting a new school, or when you're in a conflict with a peer. To sort of hide some of the feelings that are going on for them. And they developed this mask, and then they all ran around the room and talked about it. And the kids love it. We have a lot of creative kids here.
Yes, we do.
A lot.
Yeah, not traditional learners. We've talked before in our interview earlier in the year about the fact that these kids are typically kids that have not been successful in their community schools for one reason or another. And so I think we're always looking for ways to get them invested in learning, because they don't, for the most part, they don't learn like a typical middle school or high schooler. They're very active. They need to move a lot. I think that's something that we learned this year with our online curriculum. We found that was really, really great for some kids, and for others, it probably wasn't the best way for them to learn. So moving forward next year, we are going to continue to offer a blended online learning program here at Crossroads, but it will be tailored to meet the specific needs of specific students.
Do you find that most of these kids, when they sit down at a computer, pretty much know what to do, or?
Yeah, they know what to do,
Because
but
we're yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, where even a phone is a mini computer these days.
Not always
Yeah.
appropriate for school.
right. So they know their way around the computers. The challenge sometimes is to keep them focused on just what they're supposed to be doing online. So, but yeah, they're pretty capable.
How about you, Amy, as a psychologist? Now, have you been here for the full year, the full school year?
Pretty much. I technically came in like around November because they hired a new staff to replace me in the buildings that I left, and then have been here since.
And before here, you were?
I was at the high school
Okay.
and the virtual academy and one of the elementary buildings.
Okay. So you had some different challenges here, didn't you?
It was yes, it definitely became like a completely new position in terms of like what my role was as a psychologist. The biggest piece being like working with kids one-on-one, like in a counseling aspect.
Right. Yeah. What did you find most interesting about this challenge?
Maybe just the growth that I made personally, but and just becoming to understand kids better as a whole. I mean, these kids really are no different than the other kids throughout the district. They need to know that there's somebody here that cares about them.
Yeah.
And when they have that, they flourish. So.
Anything really surprising?
I think some of the kids that we've met, it surprises us knowing the extent of their experiences and how resilient they are. I mean, I think about some of the things that they go through, and I think as adults would just make us want to cry, but they're so resilient and strong that they just carry on as if,
It's true.
These are kids who have been basically told by the court they have to come to school here, right?
Right.
What are some examples of some of the types of things that these kids are guilty of that put them into this situation?
I think a lot of the kids experience like truancy and maybe home incorrigibility. And then maybe a smaller percentage have like more extenuating circumstances. But wouldn't you say the truancy and
The large majority of the students that are here have school truancy issues. They haven't attended school for long periods of time. They've had interrupted schooling where they may be in school for, a semester and then out for a semester. A lot of family conflicts. And as we talked before, we do have a population of kids that are here because they're abused and neglected kids, and they're under the Department of Human Services. So a lot of school truancy.
Yeah. Like in the case of kids who have been abused and neglected, how long do you usually have those kids here, and what lies in store for them after this?
It's a hard question.
There's no answer. If they can find a placement for them, they'll try to maybe find a placement through a family member, or an outside foster home. So if they can find them a placement, they certainly try to do that. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of placements available for older kids.
Yeah.
We just have girls right now in the DHS house, and they're 15 and up. And so to find a placement for them is proving to be very difficult. So actually, I think the majority of the kids we have here right now in that placement have been here almost all school year. We had a student placed several weeks ago with an aunt, so that was positive. But other than that,
they've been with us the whole school year. I think that, we try, because they're girls that are between the ages of 15 and 18, we work a lot on independent living skills and preparing them from a school aspect for, the adult world, talking to them about career choices and opportunities for post-high school, college. And we've helped many kids get their GED this year. And the girl that we were speaking of actually took and finished and completed her GED and is enrolled at OCC for the fall and living with an aunt. So I think that, we try to instill a sense of hope in the kids and a sense of purpose and capability, that they're, they can do whatever they set their mind to do.
Do you kind of find yourselves becoming the parents that they didn't have before?
I think typically all schools do that, but I think here, we're small, and there's 5 teachers, and there's only 13 staff, school staff here in the school. And so I think in a lot of ways, wouldn't you agree, these kids think of us as their stable family unit, Yeah,
and this has to be such a different world for them. I mean, it seems like some of these kids might be coming from a situation where they're having to constantly look over their shoulder during their lives, worried about things we would never think of. But here, all of that kind of goes away, doesn't it? They're in a different world altogether.
They love school. The children tell us that all the time. We had a student say it to us today. I don't want to go back. I love school. So
We've got
they feel safe.
amazing teachers, probably the most caring group of educators I've ever had the privilege of working with. And I mean, they go out of their way, they buy things for the kids, and they,
design spectacular lessons.
And I mean, they go above and beyond. I have teachers that stay here till 6, 7 o'clock at night planning really cool lessons, and
And what we find too is the students are maybe for the first time being successful academically because the teachers design their instruction around the specific needs of each student. So the majority of the kids here are passing with C's and better for the first time in their lives, and earning credit towards graduation and making progress towards a high school diploma. That's really exciting for them. They feel successful. They feel accomplished.
Must be very tough for you guys when it comes to the end of their stay and they have to leave.
It can be.
It can be tough.
But, I think we just kind of resort back to knowing, like, we hope that they walk away with the skills that we gave them and feel hopeful for them that they can do good things.
Sure. Now, in the case of seniors, if they've completed their academic program, they're done with school, and so they're into the big world, so to speak. But in the case of the younger kids, what kind of, and I know this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you folks, but what is done for those kids to help make sure that they don't get into the same trouble all over again once they leave you?
The students have a re-entry worker who works for the agency, who helps prep them and stay in contact with them and make sure they get the right services once they leave here. So they have somebody who transitions them out.
And while they're here, they have a therapist that's assigned through the agency, and so they're getting family therapy. They're getting whatever type of therapy they might need, whether it be substance abuse counseling or trauma therapy. They will get that provided by the agency, and so hopefully can kind of undo some of that negative pattern and get them in a more positive coping.
So we have summer coming up.
Yes.
What's going on? You say that as if relief. But there's stuff
Every
going
teacher
on
feels
during
like that.
summer, right?
Right. We are having summer school this year. So Friday is the last day of our official school year. And then we are going to offer 18 days of summer school for the kids this year. And it's going to be, mixture of different types of classes. We've got some credit recovery classes going on for kids that might need to go back and recoup some credit that they've lost. We've got a GED class, a GED prep class for our students that are working towards their GED. We are going to offer a couple of different options in regards to, we're going to start a horticulture program this summer, and we have a great big garden area out in the back here, and our science teacher is going to teach an environmental science horticulture unit. So we're going to start a garden. She's been working on getting the plants all ready, and
Art therapy is coming back in.
art therapy will be coming in and working with the kids.
Book club coming in this summer?
We're not going to have the book club come on grounds like they have throughout the year because it's a real busy time of the year at the Oxford Public Library, but we are going to, the agency is going to help transport the kids over there once a month so that they can check out books. So they'll be able to go to the Oxford Public Library.
That's great. Now,
Yeah.
I kind of sense that maybe this is open to the public. Is that true? Or what you just talked about, the summer program? No, it's not.
It's
Okay.
just for the kids that are here now.
So
that are
same
placed
system.
here. Same
Okay.
kids.
Gotcha. All right.
Same kids.
Well, it sounds like some terrific opportunities there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything anyone else would like to add here about what's going on and what's coming up in the fall?
We look forward to a couple changes we think that will help streamline the school just a little bit more. We're thinking of going to gender segregated, just so we can focus on learning a little bit more and not focus on some of the other stuff that comes along with teenagers. We'll continue the book club coming in. Sean Marshall, who works at Oxford Public Library, comes out and does book clubs and helps kids love reading.
Yeah, that's been an amazing thing.
We have some plans to develop a sensory room in the back. Excuse me. It's going to take some work on the back part of the building, but once the agency gets that going.
When you say sensory room, what do you mean?
A sensory room is a place where children who experience trauma have a lot of sensory needs.
Oh.
They need a lot of sensory input from the outside world. So they can go back and they can bounce on a trampoline, they can rock in a rocking chair, they can play with sand, they can get some of that sensory input that helps calm them.
That's the latest on our Crossroads for Youth School. Stay tuned for a pizza party with I'm Third. The I'm Third concept originated from an event in 1958 when an Air National Guard pilot guided his troubled jet away from a populated area to save others. He lost his life, but saved many more. The concept is that we place God or our supreme being first, everyone else second, and ourselves third. Since then, I'm Third groups have been helping charitable organizations around the country. Here in Oxford, high school teacher Joe Amabile is in charge. He and his I'm Third group have been visiting many local organizations and participating in events to help others. Just before classes were done, the kids had a pizza party to celebrate their year. I was privileged to be with them. Please forgive the clumsy camera work. It was very informal, and everyone was giving a sigh of relief as classes came to an end. What are some of the places that you went to this past year?
Gleaners.
Grace Centers of Hope, that was like my favorite one. Fulton Center.
The Grace Center of Hope?
In Pontiac.
Okay. And how often do you guys get out? Do you get out every week?
Every 4
It
weeks.
ranges.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Every fourth
I feel like
Thursday
every,
of a
like
month.
every 2 weeks.
So once a month anyway, you guys get out to someplace, right?
Yeah, at least once a month.
At least once a
I
month.
think we had about 40 different opportunities this year.
40?
Yeah,
Well, there is opportunities every week.
yeah, there are. Every week there's opportunities. There's the one that's consistent is the backpack program. Those of you who went downtown to pack
Oh, yeah.
backpacks, that's every week.
I didn't do that. How was that?
We do an
The
extreme home
bags.
makeover twice a year.
Uh-huh.
We do Gleaners Food Bank a lot more than twice a year. Grace Centers of Hope was the new one we did this year, which was awesome.
Wasn't that the last
great.
one?
That's down in Pontiac, right?
Yep, and then we went to Gleaners Food Bank. I'm not sure, what else did we do this year?
Well, the 5K, 10K run.
5K, 10K
That was
run.
We
It's
get
the
a
very
room
beginning of the year. It's just every year the need seems to fluctuate just a little
Yeah.
bit, so.
So how many kids are involved? We got quite a room full here.
I feel like there's a lot more that there's more at the beginning. At the end, it kind of dwindles down. It like makes you realize how fortunate you are, and like giving back to the people that like aren't as fortunate as you. Like makes you feel really good about yourself.
Is anybody else?
Hearing other people's stories at Grace Centers of Hope is cool. Makes you not want to make the same mistakes they did.
Yeah. Is there any particular thing that you guys saw that just really knocked you over?
How many people really needed the help, support?
Yeah.
Were you amazed at how many people were at these places taking advantage of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of people.
Okay.
Lots of kids too. And children.
Kids? What was your favorite thing about? Is there one favorite experience you can think of?
Giving them hope. Help.
Just getting
Yeah.
down there and helping out, eh?
Yeah.
Gleaners. Gleaners is the best.
I don't know. I think
I
Grace Centers of
like
Hope. I always,
Grace
yeah,
Centers of
I always worked in the kitchen,
I like
and just
that.
talking to the cooks, they were just some of the coolest and nicest people ever.
Yeah?
I gotta say.
At Grace Centers, a lot of the people there, well, all the people there are homeless and trying to get back on their feet. So
Really?
the conversations that they have while they're actually making meals with them is just, it's
Yeah.
priceless.
We do play a game when we get there though.
What's
Live
that?
the life of like a homeless
Oh,
person.
Game of Life, pretty much.
Game of life.
That one's fun.
It's so hard.
What's the game of life? Tell me.
It's like
It's hard to describe.
That is a lot of explaining.
you'll get like
Yeah, it took like
paperwork
5 hours.
and
It wouldn't take 5 hours. It would take like 10 minutes.
Like 20 minutes.
It wouldn't take 20 minutes.
Was there anyone's particular experience that you know, really affected you? Any of the clients of these places?
We have one.
I don't remember his name.
We have.
Wait,
oh,
wait,
okay.
go ahead.
I don't remember his name, but he got into drugs and then was like sober for a while and then relapsed and ended up like, I know when he got back on his feet, like he was driving a really expensive car and he sold it for like a fraction of what it's worth just for like drug money, and then you see him like trying to do better and like get back on his feet, and it's like, it's just like an amazing story.
Yeah, it makes you think these things aren't just on TV, they are real
Yeah.
out there, huh?
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
I say at Grace Centers of Hope, probably the thing that hit me the hardest was Tony, one of the guys that worked in the kitchen, used to be a like a top honors student in his high school, and he played hockey too. And he was like, yeah, just after high school, I fell in with the wrong crowd. He started doing heroin, and his life just fell apart in front of him. So him and I mean, I saw like a lot of similarities. That he was a really nice person, and I could relate to him, you know, being the hockey thing.
Yeah,
But
so it can happen to anybody.
it can happen to anyone, yeah.
Do you find that some of your friends, when they learn that you've done this, they kind of ask, hey, tell me about that. What are you guys doing?
Actually, like, had a teacher ask me about it today. Like, when I told her that I was in it, she was like, oh, really? And, like, had me, like, she even asked me, like, the name behind I'm Third, and I, like, explained it all to her. These kids might consider themselves third, but they're number one in my book. That's Schooling Around for this week. Thanks to Kyle Snage at the controls, Dan Zweiss at the editing desk, and you for watching. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.